So let's go through this. The big idea, again, is I want to go find my vertex. Because if I can go and find my vertex, I'm actually back to the graphing we did before. And the reason is, once we have a vertex, this is our vertical stretch. Okay, again, there will only be vertical and horizontal. Vertical, there will be no horizontal. So again, the nice thing about this is the second we find our vertex, we are back to what we've done before with actually a little bit extra information, which is nice. So let's go and find our vertex. Now, I don't quite like the way this book does this because it's a little misleading later on. So here's how I'm going to find my vertex. I'm going to take my function and I'm going to set it equal to 0. Now, with these, there isn't a lot to them. We could do them mentally, which is why they do what they do, is because it's mental math. But I'd rather enforce good math. So what we're going to do here is we have something times something times something equals 0. We're going to set each of those somethings equal to 0 because that's called the zero product property. You saw it last year, right? If I told you that I'm A times B equals 0, you would know that either A or B equals 0. It's the same idea here. So either -2 equals 0, which is of course false, or x plus 3 equals 0, or x minus 1 equals 0, which means x equals -3, x equals 1. That's our P and our Q. Okay, so they just said you can just go and say x equals -3, x equals 1. That's your P and Q. It is better to set it equal to 0, set each of your factors equal to 0 and solve, because that way when it gets more complicated, you've already been working on good stuff. Okay, now these things are called our roots. They are going to be where our graph crosses the x-axis, which is nice. They've given us 2 points that we don't even need to find now. We already have them. Let's go and find the vertex. So just a quick note, I'm not going to graph this, but I just want us to think for a second here. So if our graph looked something like, if I told you, actually, let's use the ones that we have. So right now what we know is that our graph looks something, it's opening down, so this is going to be the highest point on the graph. Right now what we know is this tells us where the graph crosses the x-axis. So we have x-intercepts at 1, 2, 3, and 1. So I want to remind you, the axis of symmetry is always going to split your graph right down the middle. So you can kind of imagine, right? We can just kind of look at it. Would you guys agree my red line right now is right down the middle between those 2 points? That's going to be my axis of symmetry. That's the x-coordinate of the vertex. So -1 is the x-coordinate of my vertex. Now, sometimes we can't do it visually, so they gave us a formula. All we're going to do is we're going to take our numbers, add them together, so the x-intercepts that we found, divide by 2. We're taking the average. Again, a lot of times we can find this, we can just find this visually, but you don't need to, you can do it mathematically. From there, we're going to do just like we did before. Now that we know that the x-coordinate of the vertex is -1, I'm going to get rid of this. We'll draw the parabola in a little bit, but I need the room. Now that we know the x-coordinate of the vertex is -1, I need to find the y-coordinate. I'm going to take -1 and plug it in. So let's just kind of do that. So let's see, we got -2, -1 plus 3, -1 minus 1. That's -2, 2, -2. That's +8. Okay? So we have the point, -1, 8. That is our vertex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow. Perfect. Okay? From here, we can go and make our graph. Now, I want you to notice we already, my thing's not in great spot because I can't go up for the parent function. But notice we already kind of know what the graph looks like. Would you guys agree it's going to definitely do this? Because it's got to pass through these 2 points. I would like us to have the points here and here. So I'm just going to, since I only need 1 point on either side, I'm just going to use that normal point as my parent. Normally it'd be up 1 over 1 in both directions. I missed it. So now it's going to be, if this is my 0, 0, I'm going to be multiply my y values by -2. So it's going to be 1, -2, and its partner on the other side. So our graph looks, having trouble there, our graph looks like this. So I want you to notice, am I off? I'm off. This point should be 1 over. So our point should look like this. Okay? So what I want to emphasize to you, we're going to go and find our vertex. We find our vertex by taking our x-intercepts, which is given, right? So we found our x-intercepts, -3 and +1. Then we find the middle between the two, whether we do it visually or we use the formula where you just take the average. Now you have the x-coordinate of the vertex. You do the normal thing. You plug it in to find the y-coordinate. And then we can graph like normal. But again, the nice thing is they've already given us a couple points. You can use them since you know what they are. You don't have to. You know what your stretch is. You can go back. You have your vertex. You've got your stretch. You can do what we've been doing. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay.